What makes someone truly Christian? Good morning, my friends. I want to ask you a simple question. What does it really mean to be Christian? Is it going to church every Sunday? Owning a Bible, wearing a cross around your neck? Those things are good, but are they enough? Let me tell you something. When I was younger, I thought being Christian meant following a list of rules, checking all the right boxes and staying inside the lines. But God showed me something so much deeper, so much more powerful, and so much more beautiful that being Christian is about transformation, not appearances. It's easy to think that being a Christian is defined by external markers, things like attending church, reading the Bible, or wearing a cross necklace. While these practices are important, meaningful, they aren't the essence of what it means to follow Christ. Christianity isn't about what you show on the outside, but what God is doing on the inside. It's not about putting on a perfect image for the world to see. It's about allowing God to shape your heart, your mind, your soul. Transformation is the key. When someone truly encounters Jesus, their life begins to change from the inside out. It's not a surface level adjustment or a temporary shift. It's a deep and ongoing process where God takes what is broken, messy, or sinful and begins to renew it. The way you think, the way you speak, and the way you treat others start to align with God's love and truth. This transformation doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't mean you'll be perfect, but it means you'll be continually growing and becoming more like Christ. The problem is that we often get caught up in appearances. We focus on looking the part or doing things that make us feel like we're good Christians. But God isn't interested in performance. He's interested in your heart. He wants to know if you're willing to surrender, to let go of pride, selfishness, and fear, and to let His Spirit work in you. True Christianity is not about following a checklist or meeting a standard. It's about letting God's grace and love transform you into someone who reflects His character. It's not something you can fake, it has to be real, and it starts from within. True Christianity is rooted in love, reflected in actions. At the heart of the Christian faith is the love of God, a love so profound that it sent Jesus to the cross to redeem a broken world. This love isn't just an abstract concept or a warm feeling. It's an active, life-changing force that transforms how we live and how we treat others. When we truly grasp the depth of God's love for us, it compels us to love others in the same way. This love is not passive. It's not about simply saying the right words or having kind intentions. It's about showing love through our actions, even when it's hard. It's about caring for the people around us, whether they are friends, strangers, or even those who hurt us. Love means going beyond convenience or comfort. It's about putting others before yourself, even when it costs something. Jesus demonstrated this perfectly throughout His ministry. Didn't just preach love, He lived it. He healed the sick, fed the hungry, and comforted the outcasts. He showed compassion to the broken and forgiveness to sinners. His actions were tangible expressions of His love. And as His followers, we're called to do the same. True Christianity means reflecting that love in our everyday lives. It's seen in how we treat people when no one is watching, how we respond to those who disagree with us, and how we stand up for the vulnerable and forgotten. It's not about grand gestures. It's often found in the small, quiet acts of kindness, patience, and generosity. Love is the foundation of everything we do as Christians, and it's the clearest evidence of our faith. When our love translates into action, it speaks louder than words ever could. Forgiveness, grace, and humility are core to a Christian life. At the heart of the gospel is the truth that we are being forgiven, not because of anything we've earned or deserved, but because of God's incredible grace. This forgiveness is a gift freely given through Jesus Christ, and it changes everything about how we view ourselves and others. Once we've experienced this kind of grace, we are called to extend it to others. Forgiveness is not always easy. In fact, it can feel impossible at times. When we've been hurt deeply, the natural response is to hold on to anger or resentment. But Jesus teaches us to forgive, not just once or twice, but repeatedly, just as we've been forgiven. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending the hurt never happened, nor does it mean excusing harmful behavior. It's a choice to release the burden of bitterness, trusting God to bring healing and justice in His time. Grace goes hand in hand with forgiveness. It's the act of showing kindness and mercy to those who don't deserve it. This is countercultural because the world often teaches us to give back what we've received. But grace flips the script. It gives love where there's hate, kindness where there's anger, and blessing where there's hurt. Grace isn't just for those who are easy to love. It's for everyone, even the difficult, the unkind, and the broken. Living with humility is what enables forgiveness and grace to flow. It's the recognition that we are all sinners saved by grace, that no one is better than another, and that any good in us is because of God's work. Humility keeps us grounded, softens our hearts, and allows us to reflect the character of Jesus in how we love and treat others, that people recognize Christ in us through how we treat others. The world is constantly watching how Christians live, especially in how we interact with those around us. It's not our words or declarations of faith that make the strongest impression. It's the way we show kindness, compassion, and integrity in everyday situations. People may never read the Bible, but they will read the story of Jesus through our lives. How we treat others reflects what's truly in our hearts. If our actions are marked by love, patience, and generosity, people will see something different in us. They'll notice when we respond to anger with calmness, when we offer help without expecting anything in return, or when we extend grace to someone who doesn't deserve it. It's in these moments that the character of Christ shines through, even without us saying a word. This doesn't mean we have to be perfect. No one is. But how we respond when we fall short also speaks volumes. Admitting when we're wrong, asking for forgiveness, and making amends show humility and authenticity. These are powerful ways to reflect the heart of Christ in a world that often values pride and self-preservation over reconciliation and humility. The way we treat others is especially important when dealing with those who are difficult or challenging. Jesus didn't just love those who were easy to love. He loved the outcasts, the sinners, and even those who opposed him. Following his example means choosing kindness and respect, even when it's hard or when it's not returned. Our actions create opportunities for others to encounter God's love in a tangible way. They won't just hear about who Jesus is. They'll see him in how we live, how we forgive, and how we love. John 13:35 says, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." This verse is simple yet profound. It captures the very essence of what it means to follow Jesus. The defining mark of a disciple is not how much knowledge they have, how often they attend church, or how eloquently they can speak about their faith. It's love. Love is the evidence that sets Christians apart, the sign that someone belongs to Christ. When Jesus spoke these words, he wasn't just giving a suggestion, he was making a declaration about how his followers should live. Love is meant to be the foundation of everything we do. It's not the kind of love that's limited to feelings or emotions. It's active, sacrificial, and unconditional, the same love Jesus demonstrated throughout his life and ultimately on the cross. This kind of love can only come from knowing Jesus personally and allowing his Spirit to work in us. On our own, it's impossible to love the way he loves. But when we experience the depth of his love for us, it overflows into our relationships with others. This love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, and it isn't self-seeking. It chooses forgiveness over resentment and seeks to build bridges, not walls. When we love one another like this, people take notice. They begin to see something different, a reflection of God's heart in how we treat one another. This love isn't just for our friends or those who think like us. It's for everyone, including those who challenge us or who seem unlovable. It's through this love that the world will see Jesus and understand what it truly means to follow him, that it's not about perfection, but direction toward Jesus. So often people think being a Christian means being perfect, never making mistakes, or always having it together. But that's not what the gospel teaches. The truth is, no one is perfect except Jesus. We are all flawed, broken, and in need of God's grace. Christianity is not about pretending to have it all figured out. It's about acknowledging our need for a Savior and letting him guide us. When we focus on perfection, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. We'll inevitably fall short, and that can lead to shame or even cause us to question our faith. But God doesn't expect perfection from us. What he desires is a heart that's surrendered to him, a life that's moving in his direction. It's not about where we start, and it's not about how many times we stumble along the way. What matters is that we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus and allow him to lead us forward. This direction isn't just about avoiding sin, it's about growing closer to God. It's about becoming more like Christ each day through small, faithful steps. It's a journey of transformation where God works in us, shaping our character, renewing our minds, and teaching us how to love and serve others. Following Jesus is a process, not a destination we reach overnight. There will be struggles, setbacks, and moments where we feel like we failed. But in those moments, God's grace is sufficient. He picks us up, dusts us off, and encourages us to keep going. It's not about being flawless, it's about being faithful. Each step, no matter how small, brings us closer to Him and helps us reflect His love to the world around us. Thanks for watching.